So people, listen up. I've got a story to share with you. Recently, I've been hearing about this monk that's been walking around nice city streets, healing the sick, but only those he deems worthy. Some of my listeners seem convinced that it's none other than Rache Bartmoss. Rache Bartmoss. Yeah, you know, the guy, the chief architect of the net, and later its badass destroyer. The rumor has always been he got taken out by a kill sat in the early days of the Fourth Corporate, but no one ever took responsibility for that strike. Is it possible Bartmoss set his creations wild and faked his own death? Did he bring down the net he created because it had turned into another tool the corporations could use to track us and to ultimately completely subjugate us? Think about it. Okay, people, listen up. This one comes to me from a listener who raises a great question, and he suggests an answer. How does the Arasaka family live so long? What about the Lucases, or half a dozen other high-profile corpo families that are pushing 200 years at this point? His answer? They're vampires. The world is ruled by vampires. Well, folks, I can't say I haven't thought about it that way, but let's consider the evidence. There's the obvious. They seem to live forever and they look good doing it. Have you seen the documentary recently about Hanako Arasaka? She doesn't look a day over 40, but she's currently pushing her 8th decade. They drink blood. Yeah, it checks out. They drain this city for sure. They sleep in coffins. Well, I do happen to know Saburo Arasaka spent the better part of this century in a medical tank to keep him alive. What do the medtechs call it? Ah, the sarcophagus. Yeah, it's more of a mummy thing, but close enough. They can only be killed with a wooden stake. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. But maybe someone should test this out and let me know.
Hello, Night City. As always, your business is my business. Today we tackle a homegrown giant in defense. You guessed it, Militech. At first glance, Militech's portfolio looks gold-plated. 500,000 employees worldwide, profits in the hundreds of billions, capitalization on the order of some 2 trillion. But do we accept these jaw-dropping numbers as the product of healthy competition? Or being in bed with the authoritarian NUSA government? The line between Militech and the feds has always been fluid. CEO Donald Lundy previously headed the Pentagon. Elizabeth Kress, former president of the company for the greater part of a decade, later became president of the NUSA. And who replaced Kress in the Oval Office? Rosalind Myers. Surprise, surprise, Militech's former CEO. Responsible for over 60% of contracts, the NUSA is far and away their largest customer. Though, in truth, these sales amount to no more than hidden government subsidies. This should raise a huge red flag for any investor with half a brain. Militech is suckling at the giant teat that is the capital. But should Washington ever run dry, kablamo! Want my recommendation? Sell, sell, and sell some more. And if you're unsure where to shove all that cash on short notice, you can't go wrong with the Arasaka money machine. Stay steady and make eddies, my friends. Until next time, NC.
Good evening, Night City! My guest today is Mark Muratovich, author of Flowers of Silence, the untold story of Hanako Arasaka. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks, Ziggy. Happy to be here.
Tell me, did you ever consider researching a less hazardous topic? Maybe scavenger chop shops or the inside of a volcano?
Well, it's true. Saburo Arasaka wasn't exactly ecstatic to hear I'd taken such a keen interest in writing a piece on his beloved daughter.
Now, in case my dear viewers don't recall, the last person to pen a biography on Hanako Arasaka committed suicide. The poor man shot himself 10 times in the back.
Yes, well, that was a sad story, but of course he wrote his book in secret, without express consent.
I certainly hope you haven't made the same mistake.
Heavens, no.
Phew. So then tell us, Flowers of Silence. How did you come up with that title?
It comes from an old Japanese proverb, unspoken words are the flowers of silence. I feel it encapsulates Hanako so perfectly. She leaves her residence only a few times a year, rarely speaks publicly, and is always surrounded by a small army of bodyguards.
Wow, how does she occupy so much time cooped up in that crystal cage of hers? Origami? Crossword puzzles?
I'm afraid I don't know, but her villa is equipped with a private fiber optic cable capable of 300 terabytes of bandwidth. So...
Are you suggesting she's a netrunner?
Well, now, I didn't say that.
We have to take a quick break, but stay with us. I'm not done with our Mr. Mark Maratovich just yet. Welcome back to Night After Night. I'm Ziggy Q, and we have a special guest tonight. He wants to be your next mayor, Mr. Jefferson Perales.
Hi, Ziggy. How have you been?
Me? I didn't think you'd care. About me or any of us, for that matter. Let me refresh your memory.
But some cynics out there don't see Night City's beautiful potential as I do.
Do I love this city? Do I love its people? I have never loved anything. A classic Holt tactic.
How do you mean?
Well, that was taken out of context. I was responding to a question about my love for the city, and how I differ from your average CEO whose only goal is a fatter paycheck. Nasty tricks are a substitute for Holt's lack of achievements, I suppose.
Okay, Jeff, in that case, how would you heal Night City?
A 3% change, sure. But do you know how? Holt changed the status of Pacifica into a sort of unincorporated area, meaning that the district's statistics no longer drag down those of the whole city. It isn't progress, just creative bookkeeping.
But he claims both crime and unemployment have dropped under his watch.
For starters, I'd relinquish all corporate representatives from the Night City Council.
Whew! You know, it's refreshing to know some politicians still have a spine. More after the break. Night City, hello and welcome. Today we have been honored with the presence of a woman with a body of chrome and a voice of gold. Please welcome Lizzie Wizzy.
Hey, Ziggy. How's my favorite host?
You know, not so bad. I was just about to sit down with the hottest star on this planet.
Oh, please.
Well, you asked. So then, Lizzie, everyone's dying to hear about your new album, Fuck All Walls. Tell us, please, which walls you mean and why you'd like us all to... well, you know.
Well, those walls can be interpreted in different ways.
But the cover shows an actual wall, one separating North and South California. In fact, we have an image of it right here.
Yes. For me personally, I see the wall as the fracturing of society, the death of empathy.
Of course. What lies on the other side of that wall is something you can't see, and what you don't see can't concern you.
Exactly. California used to be a single state, much like the US was a unified country. Sure, many of us were divided by ideology, but something still connected us all. Today, though, it's everyone for themselves, cut off, isolated. We split people into camps of the best and the worst. Every day, dozens of people die at the foot of that wall, only because they seek a better life for themselves and their families.
But don't you believe every country has a right to defend its borders?
I think I can answer you best with a favorite quote of mine. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's why I say, fuck all walls!
Would you like to stand up for what you believe in? Change the world for the better. If you buy Lizzie Wizzy's new album today, you'll receive her bonus track, Born Equal.
It's worth it, my wonderful, gorgeous friends. Let your voices be heard.
Until next time, Night City, and remember, fuck all walls!
Welcome to N54 News. I'm Jillian Jordan. We begin now with your latest local news. The 54th anniversary of the AHQ disaster is fast approaching. In 2023, Night City was shaken to its core by the detonation of a tactical nuclear bomb in Arasaka's NC headquarters. 12,000 were killed instantly by the blast, and thousands more later succumbed to acute radiation sickness. This tragic incident, which some ultimately attribute to Arasaka's wanton imperialist tendencies, has forever left a mark on our city's history. And now, an important message for Watson residents. The homelessness problem plaguing the district's sewer system will be addressed as fumigation of the tunnels begins tomorrow. Due to the use of potent neurotoxins, Watson residents are urged to stay clear of storm drains and sewer entrances to minimize risk of injury and death. Next, is it the end of eastbound traffic jams on the I-9? Long-awaited repairs to Ring Road East may begin as early as next month. Estimates put investment into this major artery at close to €20 million, with priority being placed on efficiency and anti-nomad barriers. And that is it for your latest local news. After the break, we have a look at our world report. Hello, Night City. I'm Jillian Jordan with N54 News, and this is your local latest. The NCPD has urged caution when using data terms. A routine inspection has shown many have been corrupted with malware. Police experts have confirmed the identified virus can lead to cyberware failure and, in extreme cases, even death. In response to increased gang activity, the mayor's office has raised the public threat level to red. Residents of Arroyo and Watson are advised not to leave their homes after dark and always ensure easy access to protective firearms. Schools and hospitals have been closed until further notice. What's next for Pacifica? The district, formerly designed as an oasis of luxury, has become a den for violent gangs and drug addicts. Kang Tao recently expressed interest in the purchase of Pacifica property with the aim of constructing a new server and logistics center. The city government has openly considered selling the land for a single $1 in a symbolic gesture, provided that Kang Tao demonstrates commitment to eradicating the district's criminal presence. Today's final story is an unwelcome one for pet owners. The canine ownership tax will increase to €1,000 per dog per month. Similarly, the fine for possessing an undocumented animal will increase to €40,000. Thank you for tuning in to the N54 local news. Have a pleasant day.
So people, we're going to be talking some good news tonight. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite places, the Pacific Northwest. Since Biotechnica took over there way back during the time of the Red, they've been making a forest grow. The spotted owls are nesting again, and I even heard that Sasquatch is back. And if any of you can get me an interview, I'd really like that. But it's not all paradise, folks. There's something else going on. Ever hear of Armillaria solidipes? Probably not. But it used to be the largest living organism in the world, a single fungal growth that stretched beneath miles of the Oregonian wilderness. And that was just a century ago. Unfortunately, bioplagues, acid rain, and pollution ended that, and the fungus was declared all but dead by the middle of the century. Well, good news for mushroom fanatics everywhere. It's back and better than ever. Biotechnica has made the return of this organism a top priority for their ecological restoration project in the Northwest, and they've got the patent filings to prove it. I checked with the NUSA and EEC patent offices, and Biotechnica's got patents for solidipes for the purposes of soil improvement. Well, that checks out. And biodiversity measurement. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, but what's this one? Bioinformatic neural simulation. Well, that sounds interesting. I decided this was worth looking into, so I got a friend of mine to get me some satellite images of the area of that fungal restoration. And smack dab in the middle of it is a biotechnical black lab. That's not that strange, except that the place is linked up in a big way. Transmission towers, sat dishes, what looks like even a hardline data fortress. Why all the comms? Well, I think it's because they're out there building an AI made of mushrooms. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but why not? It's been known for a century that microreasonable networks are capable of processing data, similar to our data digital networks. And a construction like this would let biotechnical fly to the net watch restrictions on AIs, because no one wants to end up like EBM. But what I still don't know, listeners, is what that AI would be for. Cryptoanalysis? Net weapon? Gen X simulation? So, if any of you are planning to take a trip up north, do me a favor and flip over a few logs and let me know what you find. I'll be interested. And now, loyal listeners, a special bulletin. Saburo Arasaka, the ancient patriarch of the Arasaka Corporation, has died. Just kidding, folks. You're too smart for that. You and I both know he's not really dead. Saburo Arasaka has spent nearly 100 years now on a quest for eternal life. He's guarded around the clock by a private army and lived for the better part of the century in a med tank designed to regenerate organic tissue. Guys like that, they don't just die. They certainly don't just get murdered by rivals. What would Saburo even be doing in Night City? No, folks, this is a smokescreen for something. And it wouldn't be the first time. If you're old enough to remember the Fourth Corporate War, there was a widespread report that Saburo had been killed by the Japanese SDF in a bid to end the war. Of course, it turned out not to be true, and the war dragged on for another year. No, you can take this one to the bank. It's only a matter of time before Saburo's going to show up on TV, tell us all he's back as CEO and ready to take the Arasaka Corporation into the next century. Yo, people. So, I don't know if you saw the news, but there's a Klimt exhibit that's opening at the California Museum of Art, San Francisco, in a few weeks. I like Klimt. I was planning on going myself, but I figure there's no point. I mean, after all, it's nothing but high-quality forgeries. What? You mean you think they keep any art on Earth? No, from Picasso to Da Vinci, Pickman, and Mapplethorpe. I've been told they've been taken to a secure vault on Luna. Why? Well, that's unclear. Reportedly, it's because after the Fourth Corporate War nearly brought an end to civilization, some of the richest people on Earth got together and made an insurance policy of sorts. Keep the cultural heritage of the Earth in a secure place, out of harm's way in case of another, more serious war. And on the face of it, that's not really bad. But I've heard a darker rumor. I'll fill you in, but first, let me tell you a little story. Long time ago, I knew a guy who owned a small restaurant. Now, things were good for a while, but times change, tastes change, rent goes up, way up. So he decides to cash in on his insurance policy by setting the place on fire. Now, don't worry, I'm not giving away any secrets here. I mean, he was caught, convicted, served his time in a brain dance cube, and now he walks the streets a free man. But you know how they caught him? Before he burned down his diner, he took out all the expensive kitchen equipment and sold it. Dead giveaway. So think about this. Someone up on Luna is taking all the stuff on Earth they think has value. Maybe they're not just hoarding it. Maybe they're planning something else. Think about it, folks. And the next time you see a rocket launched from the spaceport, ask yourself this. What if that's the last shipment?
Good morning, Night City! I've got a real noodle cooker for you today. Researchers at Biotechnica have exposed a dolphin to the brain dance of a human child learning to read. Apparently, this perceptive porpoise cousin can already distinguish between all our vowels. It's a damn shame dolphins can only survive in lab tanks. I'd sure love to see them take a crack at world domination. Good morning, Night City! It appears our sitting mayor, Lucius Rhine, will likely keep his desk another 4 years. The latest polls have Rhine swirling his brandy at a cozy 60%, leaving his challenger, Jefferson Perales, in search of a new strategy. Have we achieved utopia, Night City? You're so eager for 4 years of the same? If you say so. Good morning, Night City! Is it a mirage? A hologram? No, my friends, it's clear, open skies. But don't take it from me. Get out there and enjoy the sun.
Hey, Night City! Today, as always, your business is my business. I've got big news for all you hungry investors. Yorinobu Arasaka is convening an emergency meeting of the Arasaka Supervisory Board in Night City. Top execs from Tokyo headquarters, branch directors from Paris, Shanghai, Kinshasa, a great big meeting of the minds. Now, the official press release didn't give a reason for the meeting, but analysts are pointing the finger at a bloodbath of internal politics. The young Arasaka likely plans to consolidate control, with some of the core management team he inherited from Saburo getting kicked to the curb. Or could they need a battle plan, with times getting tense between Arasaka and the Militech NUSA alliance? It's no secret Yorinobu prefers sticks to carrots, but I wouldn't be shocked if the board is singing to a different tune. Want my recommendation? I think you know what I'm gonna say. Buy! Anybody with a wallet and half a brain already has Arasaka in their portfolio. But if you don't, time to hop on the Arasaka money-making machine. That's it for today, Night City. And remember, you've got what it takes to earn those eddies.
Hello, I'm Jillian Jordan. We begin the broadcast with troubling news from the state line. South California reportedly opened fire on a migrant caravan attempting to penetrate the wall. 27 people died and another 47 were injured. The surviving migrants are now being held at an undisclosed facility. This is just another in a series of similar incidents this year already. The South Californian government has so far declined to comment. This tragedy further emphasizes the need for unity under President Meyer's leadership. It is only under the guiding influence of the NUS government that future bloodshed can be avoided. To sign a petition calling on the Night City Council to rejoin the Union, please visit the address at the bottom of your screen. Stay tuned. More information after the break. Hello, Night City. This is Jillian Jordan with an N54 news campaign update. Exit polls for the Night City mayoral race have finally been tallied. Incumbent Weldon Holt of the Devolutionist Party received 47.8% of the vote, despite allegations of his complicity in the murder of Lucius Rhine, former mayor of Night City. But in a close race, Federalist candidate Jefferson Peralez still seized the election with 49.3% of the vote. In his concession speech, Mayor Holt offered his congratulations to the victor. Now we see whether Peralez will be able to realize his ambitious campaign promises. After the break, when will the Corsairs end their losing streak? Welcome to today's local news on N54. I'm Jillian Jordan. For the third consecutive year, Militech has been touted as Night City's best corporation to work for. This prestigious award can be attributed to the numerous employee benefits they offer, such as 5 paid vacation days a year, unlimited access to stimulant pharmaceuticals, and implant acquisition assistance. Were that not impressive enough, 34% of Militech employees have also been promised a retirement package. In other news, the NCPD welcomes a boost to its authority. As of today, the police may detain criminal suspects for up to 1 year without formal prosecution. The NCPD scored another victory with the adoption of a policy allowing the shooting of a limb to be considered a warning shot, a change that should keep officers safer. The Night City Office of Cybernetic Technology has been formally dissolved as a result of budget cuts. The office formerly responsible for implant certification will shutter its doors next Tuesday. The administrators of implant authorization are now the manufacturers, guided by the standards they themselves have established. Thank you for joining all of us here at N54 News. We'll see you next time.
Tonight, I'm going to be separating the lies from the truth, or at least giving it a damn good try anyway. So let's look at the first theory, eh? This one's promoted by the NUSA, Militech, and the Federalists. They tell us that Arasaka self-destructed the tower to prevent Militech from seizing the building and liberating Night City. Hey, if you listen to the story from someone like President Kress or the Pentagon, Arasaka blew themselves up as an act of spite. Knowing they were losing the battle for Night City, they detonated a nuclear device in their own HQ to prevent it from falling into the hands of the enemy and ensuring that the resulting destruction would keep the Americans busy picking through the debris. Yeah, right. This story is full of holes. They weren't losing the battle for the city, and they had no reason to blow themselves up. On the contrary, at that point in the war, the high brass in the U.S. government were getting pretty damn tired with this war, and they were getting ready to end it by any means necessary, and that put Militech in a pretty tight spot. What's true here is that Arasaka did have a nuclear self-destruct device in the building, but I promise you, that wasn't the source of the explosion that night. The weird thing is, no one ever found that Arasaka nuke, intact or otherwise, in the rubble, which means that thing is still out there somewhere. I've got another theory I want to float past you, this time from the Arasaka side. Arasaka's always said that Militech was behind the bombing. After having been repeatedly humiliated in their attempts to take the city, they finally employed a commando team to infiltrate the building and plant that nuke. According to Arasaka, the people of the city stood with their patrons from across the Pacific and were instrumental in Militech's repeated military failures in the city. They also say that Night City wasn't just collateral damage, but the secondary target. I believe Militech was behind the attack. That's what my sources tell me. But Arasaka isn't telling the whole truth either. And the stuff about the loyalty of regular Night citizens to their friends in Arasaka is a damn lie. It's true that Militech had reached a stalemate in the battle for the city. Arasaka's military was well contained. In reality, the attack was meant to destroy Arasaka's secret weapon. What weapon? We'll get back to that in a bit.
No jokes today, Night City. Not when it means keeping you good people safe. Biotechnica's Institute of Meteorology has issued a severe sandstorm warning. Authorities have urged residents to stay at home or another well-sheltered location. No resources, they say, have been set aside for search and rescue efforts. Welcome to paradise, folks.
Hello and welcome to WNS News. I'm Arif Iqbal. Today we have several important public service announcements. In Arroyo, a terrorist group dubbing itself a trade union has been eradicated. These self-proclaimed representatives of Night City's working class attempted to organize a strike, which could have led to financial losses in the millions. Remember, if you come across these so-called union representatives, immediately contact the NCPD or the appropriate corporate security forces. More and more patients have been filing into hospitals throughout Night City with injuries caused by malfunctions in illegally purchased cyberware. Unauthenticated implants have caused several fatal short circuits already. The NCPD urges all cyberware users to buy only from licensed manufacturers. It's worth the investment. Numerous nomad caravans have appeared near city limits in North Oak and Charter Hill. Some reports suggest some of the violent vagrants may have entered Night City despite the NCPD's best efforts. If you spot a nomad, remember that you have the right to self-defense. With such dangerous criminals, warning shots alone are not considered an effective deterrent. Now, today's final story. An NCART station is stunned by a bloody massacre. The unidentified assailant opened fire on passengers waiting for the train on Platform 2 at Med Center. 10 people are confirmed dead and 16 injured. We advise Night citizens to thoroughly consider all transport options to find the safest solution. Thanks for tuning in to WNS News. Stay safe out there, Night City.
Hey, I'm Josh Kevorkian, and as always, your business is my business. We'll kick off the day with a broad scan of the market. Kiroshi climbs 2. Quadra dips by 1. New American Auto Works revs up by 1.5. But the day's big head turner? Orbital Air rocketing by 10 points. Don't touch that volume. You heard right. 10 points. But why? How? Coming off a disappointing year, no new announcements, the release of longtime CEO Leslie Wawuda, Who could justify even an any of investment into the stagnant aerospace giant? And yet, don't forget, folks, many huge accounts out there are managed by AIs. You blink an eye and they've already bought and sold shares twice over in billion-euro-dollar deals. The problem is we don't always know what drives their decisions. And frankly, the owners of the funds they manage couldn't care less, so long as they see those profits ticking up. But, my dear viewers, I say we dig deeper. How could orbital air grow so drastically, so quickly? My friends, I see only one logical explanation. Those AIs expect a big boost in demand for orbital flights in the very near future. But why? World war? Environmental catastrophe? Perhaps the rise of the machines? That we may never know. Whatever conclusion the AIs have deduced from their data crunch, they seem intent on keeping it to themselves. Regardless of our fates, the time to buy is now. After all, we may need the windfall to buy our tickets to the moon once the world finally goes to hell.
So people, let me talk to you about Trauma Team. You know them. You love them. And if you happen to live in Night City, they're basically the only game in town for your medical care. If you watch their ads or listen to the testimonials, they say they'll come to your aid in a pinch, patch you up, get you on your feet again, if you can pay. And that's a big if, folks. So what happens if you can't? Turns out our friends at Trauma Team might have a unique collection method. Missed many payments? You might just find yourself the victim of a debt recovery team. It usually goes like this. So you'll be minding your own business when a helpful Trauma Team rep will approach you and dose you with a quick-acting sedative. After it takes effect, the debt collectors scurry in, load you into one of their specialized transport. No one's going to stop them. After all, they're Trauma Team. You'll first be scanned for cyberware and natural organs. Your body will be compared to a continually updated database listing the prices for aftermarket parts and organs. You owe them 7,000 eddies from the time you fell down the stairs on the way back from the bar, so that's put up against the expected value of your parts. So is that a new Kuroshi eye you have there? Well, that's selling for about $3,000 and that's coming out. Nice heart you have there. Dynalar Cardio X model. Yeah, they'll take that too. Don't worry though, they're not going to let you die. They are doctors after all. No, they'll quickly replace with the cheap knockoff from the USSR they pulled out of a guy who was gut shot in a shootout last week. Yeah, it's probably still good. The Dynalar minus the cost of installing the replacement, well, that's another 3,000 eddies. Yeah, we're getting there. Your liver looks a little damaged from too much drinking, but they can still get a decent K for it. And best part, it's an original. So as long as they don't take the whole thing, it'll grow back. Livers are great like that. You can be like a sheep, constantly shorn again and again and again. So now with your debt repaid, your account back in the black, you're free to go. You wake up with a hangover and feeling kind of strange. But hey, for your trouble, they give you a voucher with a 6-month upgrade from silver membership to gold, and it's at no additional cost. That sounds like a good deal to me. Yeah. How about you?
Welcome to the N54 News World Report. I'm Jillian Jordan. Scientists from Biodyne Systems have announced a breakthrough in the fight against multiple sclerosis. MS is one of the few diseases that cannot be cured by replacing the affected tissue with implant technology. But the experts at Biodyne have created nanites that, when injected into the spinal cord, provide long-term uninterrupted repair to the neural tissue. The cost of this cutting-edge therapy treatment has been listed at €700,000 per month. For the second consecutive week, the landfill inferno in the remnants of Atlantic City continues to rage on. The 10,000-acre dumping ground ranks among the world's largest and contains both toxic and biological waste. Already 7 firefighters combating the blaze have died, and another 40 have suffered from severe burns and toxin exposure. The Swedish Academy Award for Literature has announced its latest recipient, Virginia Grantchester, citing her most recent book, In the Shade of an Apple Tree, as a treasure of this generation. Grantchester, who is an AI created by Raven Microcybernetics, has been lauded for several of her works over the years. Her first novel, Requiem for a Samurai, which was published in 70 languages simultaneously, sold over 3 million copies. In the Shade of an Apple Tree is a drama set in 20th century Ireland and is already considered a masterpiece of post-collapse literature. This has been your World Report. Thank you for tuning in to N54 News.
1919 was a year of great change in our history. The onset of American Prohibition, the end of World War I, and the birth of Saburo Arasaka. From an early age, Saburo was heavily involved in the business his father had founded. As a young man, he quickly demonstrated the work ethic and natural talent becoming of an exceptional manager. That is, until his promising career was abruptly interrupted by war upon his doorstep. Saburo Arasaka enlisted as a pilot in the Nippon Kaigun, the Japanese Imperial Navy. By the age of 23, he had already achieved the rank of lieutenant. With 20 confirmed aerial victories, he forever will be honored as one of the Imperial Army's most accomplished fighter pilots. But in 1942, during a routine mission, his plane was severely damaged. Yet, overcoming both grievous injury and a malfunctioning aircraft, Saburo managed to return to base. The injury sustained by Saburo Arasaka in 1942 ultimately proved serious enough to disqualify him from further combat missions. He could now only watch as the empire he defended began to suffer more and more losses, until their eventual and unconditional surrender in 1945. According to family accounts, Saburo, gripped by despair and shame, had resolved to commit seppuku, but then changed his mind at the very last moment. Why? No one knows. From the day he nearly took his own life, Saburo Arasaka has refused to speak about his wartime experience with anyone. He devoted his complete attention to one thing alone: his work. Following the death of his father, Sasai Arasaka, in 1960, Saburo assumed control of the family business. Under his direction, their humble company began on its path to becoming a world-leading corporate giant. It was in 1990 when Arasaka Corp first emerged on the Global 500 list. Then in 1996, after the collapse of the United States, it rose to number 2 in the rankings. At the most trying time in our history, Saburo Arasaka provided thousands of Americans with reliable work and helped us regain a sense of our former prosperity. For that, we will always owe him a debt of gratitude. Arigatou gozaimasu, Saburo-san.
Good evening, Night City! Boy, do I have a treat for you! Make that 3 treats! On the show, we have the girls from, wait, how do you say it? Ass cracks? Us cracks?
Ziki, you can say it however you want. Meow. He's pretty cute in person, isn't he?
It's a relief to see you girls in such high spirits. I mean, after someone destroyed your equipment truck, it must have been terrifying.
You are joking? It was wild. This is why we love Night City. It is so crazy. Exactly. Tokyo is so boring.
And if a man set fire to your limo right now, what would you say to him?
Invite us with you next time. Pow boom!
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Us cracks! Don't miss their upcoming concert. You've never seen anything like it.
Hi, how is everybody? Got some news with some spice. Lizzie Wizzy has just released her first BD. Yes, that Lizzie Wizzy. It's called Fracture Enough, and in it, she lays bare her heartbreaking split with Liam Northam. At first, Lizzie and Northam looked like the perfect pair, but then their little slice of heaven started to grow mold. Fracture Enough is a tumultuous journey through the superstar's sadness, disappointment, pain, and then the ecstasy when she exacts her revenge. When you feel Northam's body fall limp in your hands, with his hot blood streaking down your chrome skin, I mean, wow, preem catharsis. Fracture Enough is a brain dance masterpiece and proof that Lizzie Wizzy's genius extends far, far beyond her music. I cannot recommend it enough. Fracture Enough by the one and only Lizzie Wizzy is available on feeders now. Check it out.
So people, listen up, this is serious. I want you to think about this. You know the name Raven. You know Moore, Dynalar, and of course, Kuroshi. They're the finest eye makers in the world. Probably you've got at least one of them in your skull right now, don't you? But do you ever wonder who's watching behind those eyes? I think it's time you do. Because those eyes aren't yours, you know. Somebody makes them, somebody programs them. Those moments you think are private? How can you be so sure no one's watching? The next time you're out doing a deal, think about it. Maybe when you pull the trigger on that job, the corp who manufactured your eyes has evidence. You think you aren't a target for blackmail? You better think hard about that last one, Chumba, and be honest with yourself. Where do you think they get the data sets for the newest brain dances? Probably your private life. But hey, don't limit your imagination, because the corporations sure don't. What if there's stuff they don't want you to see? A little chameleon filter there, some perception coding here, and suddenly they can decide what you even get to see. Who knows what they might want to hide from you? Spies, secret labs, facilities, and of course, that kick murder squad they sent to your door because you knew too much. So, you think seeing is believing? Not with these synthetic eyes.
Hello, Night City. As always, your business is my business. Today we tackle a homegrown giant in defense. You guessed it, Militech. At first glance, Militech's portfolio looks gold-plated. 500,000 employees worldwide, profits in the hundreds of billions, capitalization on the order of some 2 trillion. But do we accept these jaw-dropping numbers as the product of healthy competition? Or being in bed with the authoritarian NUSA government? The line between Militech and the feds has always been fluid. CEO Donald Lundy previously headed the Pentagon. Elizabeth Kress, former president of the company for the greater part of a decade, later became president of the NUSA. And who replaced Kress in the Oval Office? Rosalind Myers. Surprise, surprise, Militech's former CEO. Responsible for over 60% of contracts, the NUSA is far and away their largest customer. Though in truth, these sales amount to no more than hidden government subsidies. This should raise a huge red flag for any investor with half a brain. Militech is suckling at the giant teat that is the capital. But should Washington ever run dry, kablamo! Want my recommendation? Sell, and sell some more. And if you're unsure where to shove all that cash on short notice, you can't go wrong with the Arasaka money machine. Stay steady and make eddies, my friends. Until next time, NC. Hello, Night City. As always, your business is my business. Today, we crack open and dissect Morro Technologies, the industry leader in full-body conversion. Not long ago, Morro released its newest class of high-grade implants, the Brighthorn K Titanium Skull, Eiger T Bone Series, and the Houstock W Arm Series. Meanwhile, their first major success continues to rake in steady sales. The Liscam C Immunological Override System has proven an essential buy for cyberware enthusiasts everywhere. Yet, just last year, Morro Technologies was rocked by allegations that, relative to competitors, their implants greatly accelerate the effects of cyberpsychosis. But the PR and legal teams of the Swiss giant managed to quickly stomp out that fire. The journalist who broke the story, Franz K., was found guilty of defamation and sentenced to 10 years. All things considered, I see a bright light on the horizon for more technologies in the coming years. My recommendation, buy now and never look back. Night City, Josh Kevorkian here. And as always, your business is my business. Anyone out there still clinging onto shares in the NCPD? If so, I recommend getting the doctor who woke you up from that coma to call your broker ASAP. But in all seriousness, abandon ship. Sell, sell, sell. The Night City police force is reeling from yet another day in the red. Since January, the NCPD's capitalization has slumped by a whopping 17%. And just after the force seemed poised for a meteoric rise, following its privatization in 2076, they announced an ambitious recovery proposal. A drones for cops replacement plan, a €5 per minute 911 hotline, a closer partnership with privatized prisons, but by the year's end, the gaping hole in their budget didn't shrink an inch. The mayor's office has a new proposal on the table for this lingering police problem. In the new solutions corner stand lobbyists from the corporate security industry. And you know what, folks? I say it's about damn time. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. The NCPD is a relic, a fossil. They're too blind to see that it's profit that drives success. If you want to be safe, and I mean truly safe, invest in the Ofuda protection plan from Arasaka. Take advantage of a today-only promo price of €100,000 to keep you secure for an entire year. Spend wiser, never a miser, my friends. That's it today for Your Business is My Business. Until next time.
Good morning, Night City! Is it a mirage? A hologram? No, my friends, it's clear, open skies. But don't take it from me. Get out there and enjoy the sun.
Hello, my name is Arif Iqbal, and this is WNS News. In today's international segment, reports of hardship have emerged from Alaska. According to the Incorporated Press, corn harvests have dropped by 80% from last year's yields, the result of catastrophically heavy rains and floods plaguing the region. Local authorities are under obligation to provide nearly 80 million bushels of their crop to Biotechnica, the engineers behind the frost corn hybrid species. The city of Juneau now faces a difficult choice of whether to honor the agreement, causing severe shortages in Alaska, or break the contract and forego next year's seed corn delivery from Biotechnica. Whether you believe Alaskans deserve humanitarian aid, or perhaps a lesson in self-reliance, cast your vote at the address below. Freak accident or targeted attack. Nanobees terrorize the residents of Milan. Eyewitness accounts tell us 7 million of the Fengwang nanobots suddenly ceased their pollination functions and buzzed straight for the Lombardy capital, though the cause remains unknown. The nanobees infested several buildings and moving vehicles, causing numerous reported accidents. The mayor of Milan, Lorenzo Ricci, announced the formation of an investigative committee to determine the cause behind the bizarre phenomenon. Ever dreamed of being a head of state? Now may be your chance. Luxury real estate firm No Limits at All has announced another 15 artificial islands, available for sale now. Each island spans at least 3 square miles and possesses a foundation built to withstand an 8 on the Richter scale. Because they are located in international waters, island owners fall under no nation's jurisdiction and are free to establish and enforce local law and custom. For more information on your future slice of paradise, visit the address below. In the meantime, this lovely West Coast weather isn't a bad substitute. Thanks for tuning in, Night City.
NC, back with you so soon? How's your afternoon? Where is the division between man and machine? To find the answer, check out the latest book from Richard Sanchez titled Chromo Sapiens. In a nutshell, according to Sanchez, humankind can never be fully automated because of, quote, all our damn brain chemistry. I wonder if this bestseller has made the Maelstrom Book Club's reading list.
Well, that's a good question, listener. I'll tell you, I have lived in a mega building. In fact, I lived in one of the first ones ever built in Watson. I didn't have much option. It was either that or go outside and find a squat underneath a radioactive bridge somewhere. So it's crowded. You get to know your neighbors real well. Some of them you don't want to know real well. But problem is, when you've got several 100,000 people, you got to put them somewhere. And Night City was not a good place to put people 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. There was a big hole in the ground, a lot of glowy stuff, and most of the inner city was wiped. So what do I think? I think they're a necessary evil. They cleaned it up a bit. I mean, the first ones in Watson were a bit sketch, but we need them. They're not the best deal, but they might be the only deal we've got in town. This is the voice of Night City, Maximum Mike. Autonomous taxis, huh? I'm surprised they haven't done it more often. I mean, after all, they're not too smart. They're not like AIs or anything. I'm sure even AIs could do that. No, most probably someone hasn't been keeping up on all the real complex maintenance you need to do to keep one of these autonomous taxis on the road. And when you start cutting corners, that really simple, stupid robot stuff starts getting real simple and real stupid. So crashing into people, crashing into walls, buildings, could be anything, but I'd put it down to faulty maintenance instead of something real sinister. Of course, I could be wrong. If any of you listeners have anything you want to send in on me, call my producer. I'll look into it. Well, I suppose I could give you the usual claptrap the politicians do about thank you for your service, but they don't care, and they didn't care when I mustered out either. What are you going to do? Well, unfortunately, the nature of human beings the way they are, there's going to be wars. And even if they're not declared wars, there's always going to be a need for somebody who knows how to get around, use weapons, protect stuff, manage to get a hand onto, let's say, military hardware, know their way around it. So, what are you to do? I'd say be a solo. It's worked for me in the past. Probably worked for you.
This is N54 News with a breaking story. A cyber psycho attack shocks Wellsprings. Lester McKenzie, age 28, opened fire at the River Mall shopping center. The shooting lasted 10 minutes before the assailant was killed shortly after MaxTac forces arrived. The Implant Manufacturers Association has issued a statement in response to the incident, stating, quote, "Our thoughts and prayers go to the victims and their families. We at the IMA extend our sincerest condolences in the wake of this unavoidable tragedy." End quote. 35 people were pronounced dead at the scene and another 20 remain in critical condition. River Mall administration has announced plans to reopen within the hour. They have offered a 50% discount at participating stores to the families of the victims. Stay tuned to N54 News for developments on the story. Welcome to N54 News. I'm Jillian Jordan, and here's what's happening in the world today. The last active photovoltaic solar farms have been decommissioned in Nevada and Utah. Solar power generation, once seen as the future of clean energy in America, has suffered significant setbacks in today's more extreme climate. The layer of dust suspended in our atmosphere, a result of the Himalayan wars, has limited the amount of solar radiation reaching the Earth's surface. More importantly, the increasing regularity of hurricanes and sandstorms caused frequent and costly damage to most solar farms. Unsurprisingly, wind power has fared just as poorly. The number of active turbines has plummeted by 63% over the last 15 years alone. It appears Q2 will remain the uncontested leader in the energy sector for the foreseeable future. In mainland Europe and the Mediterranean, the humanitarian crisis has grown worse. According to the latest report, as much as 20% of the continent is no longer suitable for human habitation. Temperatures in Sicily, Malta, and the Cyclades have reached as high as 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Air pollution in Poland, Bulgaria, and Romania now exceeds the continent's average by more than 2,000%. However, heads of state in France, England, and Germany have issued a joint statement in which they preclude the option of government intervention. Their statement reads, quote, "Interference by government authority is interference in the free market. The disruption of natural market mechanisms only serves to hinder the optimal path for solutions to current problems." End quote. In other news, China has become the first country in the world to formally ban the use of human-controlled road vehicles. From now on, Chinese citizens can use only autonomous vehicles approved by government regulators. State-validated self-driving vehicles will be limited to pre-authorized routes, such as a person's commute to and from work. The Chinese government has given citizens a week to report all manually operated vehicles still in use, and to submit all bicycles for installation with state-issued GPS tracers. Thank you for watching N54 News. Join us again next time.
All right, listen up, people. I've got a public service announcement. It's about the scourge of our age, that chrome nightmare that you know as cyberpsychosis. It seems we can't go a day without some boosted lunatic tearing through a crowd of bystanders. The story you've always heard is that it's a psychological condition, a kind of dissociative violence. But is there more to it? What if cyberpsychosis is intentional? I once heard a theory that I think merits some thought. An old friend of mine used to say that he thought the biggest manufacturers had got together a long time ago and agreed on a baseline failure rate for certain devices. Bad code, intentionally inserted into the mind-machine interfaces to slowly drive people up the wall, a kind of human planned obsolescence. They figure, what's the best defense against a nut job with a 23-inch telescoping blade in his forearm? A 26-inch telescoping blade in yours. I can't say he's not onto something. Every time some psycho tears his way through a mall, sales of combat cyberware spike. Every time Net54 News runs a story on a massacre, some Arasaka exec buys himself a new yacht. Can that be all, though? It's no secret that incidents of violent cyberpsychosis have skyrocketed in recent decades, despite improvements in manufacturing and design. But there is something new in the latest generation cyberware. Get ready for this, kids. It's the Black Wall. You aren't a runner yourself, or a code jockey, you might not know, but the Black Wall isn't some mystical barrier floating somewhere in the deep net. It's actually a complex hardware-software infrastructure designed to keep AI from accessing your gear, among other things. Maybe it doesn't work as well as NetWatch says. Maybe the madness of the deep net leaks over to our side from the Black Wall from time to time. Drives some poor chumbo right over the edge. And it's possible it doesn't really exist anyway. Maybe it's just something the media came up with. Look, I'm not saying there aren't attacks. I've seen a few myself. What I am saying is there's a million reasons why one human might want to butcher another. Hell, we've been doing it for millions of years, even without cyberware. But let me tell you, listeners, with cyberware, it's easier than ever. And then on the other side, maybe the corporate and media types just came up with a word, so they wouldn't have to think too hard about it. And you wouldn't either. Of course, this is all speculation. If I knew what caused cyberpsychosis, believe me, I'd tell you.
Hello, my name is Arif Iqbal, and this is WNS News. In today's international segment, we turn our eyes towards Asia. The summit between China and India has ended with the signing of a new trade agreement. Under the agreement, the tariffs for iridium, dysprosium, and lanthanum, rare metals necessary for the construction of the Chi-Yu-2 orbital station, have been lifted. The signatories have also agreed to the free movement of organic persons and biopodders between the two countries. This is the latest step in the two nations' push for greater economic integration, and the benefits such cooperation brings. This flies in stark contrast to the NUSA's protectionism and trade war policies under President Myers. In science news, Biotechnica researchers have announced another breakthrough in genetics. the restoration of 3 previously extinct animal species: the North American beaver, the swift fox, and the eastern cottontail. Though back from the dead, these species will not be reintroduced to their natural habitats for fear of an increased risk of zoonotic disease.